Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today, I'm joined with Herbert Flight Time Lang, who is a 18-year veteran of the Harlem Globetrotters. Also, was on The Amazing Race, and now is what I will call an ambassador of kindness. Herbert, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me. Thank you for allowing me to use your platform to spread a little bit of kindness. I appreciate it.
You bet. I think if there's anything the world needs today, it's more kindness. So I am happy to help you spread that however I can. So before we start talking about what you're doing today, I just want to kind of reflect and revisit your career with the Globetrotters. 18 years. I mean that's an amazing career in and of itself. I mean, you know, you played college basketball, um, and I'm assuming your aspiration in college was to go on and play in the NBA, right?
Right.
So when when that door didn't open, but then this other door of playing with the Globetrotters did, like what was that like uh, for you?
Well, Dan, it's always cool to hear about guys' experiences and how they became Globetrotters. Even when you meet guys that you play with, you're like, man, how did you end up here? And like you said, for me, coming out of college, my aspirations, of course, was to play eventually in the NBA or just to be able to play professional basketball and make a living doing something that I love. As far as my journey to the Globetrotters, after winning the college slam dunk contest at the Final Four back in 1998, it was during the year when the NBA had a lockout. So coming from a small Division One school, I didn't have an opportunity to go into the traditional uh, camps, Chicago camps, and the Portsmouth camps and things like that they used to have back in the day. So I decided to go back to school and finish my degree. I had a couple offers to go over school overseas, like in Cyprus and a couple places. But the thing was, the NBA wasn't playing, so a lot of the NBA guys were playing overseas too. So those spots weren't really open either. So I ended up working. Actually, I ended up graduating, student teaching at a high school. They were graduating and then working a job as a personal trainer. During that time, working as a personal trainer, one of my former college mates who played soccer at my team ended up going to a Harlem Globetrotter basketball game. And at that game, he ended up getting a Globetrotter program autographed, of course, going around the court, getting it signed by all the different players. And he happened to bump into one of the coaches. And he asked the coach, what do you got to do to become a Globetrotter? I remember him telling me, he said that the coach looked at him like he was crazy. And the reason why is because my friend Allen's a 5'7" Asian guy. And at that point, there weren't really any Asian players on the Globetrotters team, let alone a 5'7" guy. So long story short, he ended up bringing me the program home because we were roommates at the time. And I remember looking through it, and there was an 800 number in the back. And Alan, he said to me, he said, man, you can be a Globetrotter. You could do all the things that they're doing on the basketball court. I saw it. I witnessed it. And, I'm thinking, man, I ain't trying to play for no Globetrotters. I'm trying to go to the league.
Right.
And so about 2 weeks later, I remember coming home from work and I asked Alan, I was like, hey, man, where's that program at? So I ended up going to get the program. I made the phone call to the 800 number. They asked me to submit some videotape. I sent the videotape in, and they told me after receiving the tape that they would invite me to their training camp, which was to be held in August later on that year, which was 99. Long story short, growing up as a kid, I watched the Globetrotters on Wild World of Sports, the cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon, the Love Boat, Gilligan's Island. And my great grandmother was a huge Globetrotter fan. She was one of the people that would really get us around the television to, get excited when the Globetrotters would come on. So, big picture, becoming a Globetrotter, I dreamed of playing in NFL. I dreamed of playing in the NBA. I dreamed of playing in front of large audiences. To be able to play with the Globetrotters and to be able to play with a team that had traveled to so many different countries around the world, it didn't take me long, probably within my first year, that I realized that I was living more than my dream come true. So that's kind of how it happened for me. And to be able to hold that spot for almost 18 years and travel to almost 90 countries in the world, a little kid from Brinkley, Arkansas, man, I didn't dream about all of that. So that just lets you know anything is possible.
Yeah, that is so cool. So you grew up, watching Meadowlark Lemon and those guys, like the pioneers of the Globetrotters play. And to think that you became one of them, I mean, that's got to be incredible. Again, even though it wasn't what your initial dream was, the dream was to be playing, in the NBA. Uh, in some cases, you know, you might have had it better off than some NBA players with, traveling the world, 90 countries. I mean, that's just, baffling to me. I mean, we travel in an RV all across this country. I can't imagine, what you experienced, the different cultures, of those 90 different countries. And I saw the Globetrotters play actually when I was really young, when Meadowlark Lemon and, Curly and those guys were playing. And then I saw them. I actually probably saw you play because I think we saw them play in Reading, Pennsylvania around 2015, 2016. So you would have been
We
on that team. So um,
love Reading, love Reading. They got the very nice arena right there in downtown, new arena.
yes, yes,
I think is that Danielle Marshall Court? I think that they have down there at the arena. Yep,
sure
you
is.
there?
It sure is. Yep. So Reading has produced Stu Jackson, Danielle Marshall, and now Lonnie Walker, who was just signed with the Lakers. So yeah, there's a rich basketball tradition at Reading and Reading High School. Um, so it was always just so fun to watch you guys play. It was just a blast. It was, and the talent, and I think that's something that gets lost is, with all the trick plays and, all the fun of the game is just how incredibly talented you guys are. I mean, those, some of those shots that you guys are making and stuff is just incredible. So, do you, as you reflect back, um, you know, are you grateful that your path took you from the Globetrotters as opposed to the NBA?
That's a great question, and it's a question that we get asked often. Having the experience of traveling to almost 90 countries around the world, again, like you said, I don't know if I would have had an opportunity to do that if I was in the NBA. I don't know if I would have had an opportunity to meet President Obama twice at the White House if I wasn't for the Globetrotters, because those doors and those opportunities just don't really come available for everyone. I don't know if I would have had an opportunity to do the Amazing Race on CBS 3 times if I were not a Harlem Globetrotter. And to hear you talk about your experience and memories of the late great Meadowlark Lemon, the late great Curly Neal, who was one of my all-time favorites, and I had the opportunity and the blessing to wear his number the first 7 years of my career. So imagine when I first joined the Globetrotters in '99, they gave me number 22, and I was able to wear that number. I think Curly would say I wore it with grace, and he was happy to have me wear that number. And until 2008, when we retired his number in Madison Square Garden, that was an amazing ceremony that I was able to be a part of. His entire family was there, and to know that night that I was able to honor Curly Neal, a legend who you just spoke of, to know that for 7 years his number was not off the court, it was actually in action and actually doing the things that he used to do, dribbling around the court. It was more than a dream come true to have a relationship with a living legend, and to be inspired and to have him come out and tell us stories and always look to figure out a ways to make things better for us, which is what I'm all about right now. Having that opportunity to do all the things I was able to do. Every Globetrotter didn't have a chance to play for 18 years. Every Globetrotter didn't have a chance to meet President Obama. Every Globetrotter didn't have the chance to run around the world, not only as a Globetrotter, but on television as an amazing racer slash reality star. So these are things that I don't take for granted. And from these experiences are a lot of why I am motivated to this day to try to make things better, not only for myself, but for my former teammates, the females, the young men, and even the people who worked in the front offices, because the vision that I see with the Globetrotters is even bigger probably than the vision that Abe Saperstein seen back in the early 20s and 30s, when he assembled the team and kind of put it together and put it on display for the rest of the world to see.
Yeah, that is so cool. And again, to experience those different cultures of 90 different countries. And I know in your TEDx talk, you talk a little bit about that. I forget exactly how you articulated it, but just talking about the good people in the world, that how you were blessed to meet all of these good and kind people, which is kind of what led you to what you're doing today. But before we talk too much about what you're doing today yet, just tell me about what that was like, traveling to these different countries and just interacting with all these different people and these different cultures and understanding, you know, having it hit you that, man, there are some good people in this world. What was that like for you?
Dan, it was amazing. The first country that I was able to travel to abroad, I remember it was Brussels, Belgium. And my coach at the time, the very first coach to take me overseas on any game for a Globetrotter was Hubert Geese Osby, who was another legendary Globetrotter who I was able to have a conversation with here just a week ago. He's still alive. But to be able to go to in that first tour, we went to Brussels, Belgium. We went over to Germany, Munich. We also went over into France. And for me, it was the first time. I mean, I'm just gonna keep it real with you. It was the first time that I was around what I considered Black people that weren't speaking English like the way that I was speaking, and it was just kind of a culture shock. But it also really opened up my eyes and made me realize that there was more to this world than just what's happening in the United States of America. And I just begin to become more impressed and excited for the opportunities to go back and meet, more and more people. And then having taken French in high school and in college, being able to apply some of the French that I had taken in high school and college to actually practice it and speak it in the McDonald's and regular conversations and discotecas at night was. I mean, it's just so cool. And really, in my TED talk, you mentioned being around so many people from so many different ethnicities, different racial backgrounds, and being in a setting with them and just realizing that you're entertaining. They want to be happy. They want to be entertained. They want to create experiences that are going to last, a lifetime. And to have a gift and a talent and a platform, to be able to do that, that's something that the Globetrotters have been doing now for almost 100 years. And to be able to be a part of something like that it's almost like an opportunity to win every night and get told how great you are every night and a goosebump experience every night because you're creating memories that people like yourself and like myself are going to remember. And in the words of Curly Neal, if you told him that story, Dan, he would say to you, Dan, thanks for the memories. Thanks for the memories.
That's awesome. And I can imagine, I mean, going from, growing up in Arkansas, going to college in Louisiana, and then finding yourself in Belgium, like just the culture shock to an extent,
uh,
but then
yeah, just some of the places, like, I mean, even going down to Barcelona, Spain, the place where the Dream Team played at, playing in places like that I watched on television as a kid, being able to go down into Monte Carlo, the French Riviera, Dubai, over to Australia, all the way down into, South America, different parts of Canada, just being able to travel the world to places that I never even imagined, the Canary Islands, just Liechtenstein. I mean, there's just so many places that I didn't even know was on the map, and to have friends who I consider friends and know that I can go back to these places, look some people up and know that they're ready to show me a good time. And again, just happy to see me and just looking for some hope and some inspiration at the end of the day and a way to figure out a better life.
yeah. So I got to ask you, was your grandmother still around when you started playing with the Globetrotters?
Well, I was lucky, Dan. So my great grandmother, she was the one that was the bigger Globetrotter fan. She passed away in '96. I was in college at that time, so she did see me go off to college and play a little bit of college basketball. But I also had still have or had my grandmother on my mom's side and my grandmother on my dad's side. So both of them had an opportunity to see me play. My grandmother on my father's side, she's still alive. She's in her early 90s, and she's one of the people that used to walk me around. We went to church too, of course. But being able to have the memories of looking up into the stands and even seeing my grandmother almost, you know, wobble down the stairs to see me play is just a memory that I'll never forget. I mean, even beyond just family members, being able to see some of my coaches, being able to see some of my teachers who supported me along the way, sitting in the front row, second row, clapping and just seeing the joy and excitement on their face, knowing that they had something to do with a little bit of success that I've had in my life is what keeps me going. It keeps me motivated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure your great grandmother then was probably looking down saying, That's my boy.
That's right.
He made it. He made it to the place I always loved. So that's pretty cool for sure. The other thing you talk a little bit about in your TEDx talk is when you got the call that your services were no longer needed with the Globetrotters. And one of the things throughout my 30 years of coaching that I always stressed to my players was more about teaching life lessons than just the technical part of the game, and making them understand that at some point in their life, regardless of what level they get to, the game is going to pass them by. Like you're just not going to physically be able to do what you did at one time. And you talk about the mixed feelings of getting that call after 18 years of, your blood, sweat, and tears into this organization, but then how you also kind of turned it around as well, that it wasn't necessarily all bad news for you. So just talk a little bit more about that feeling of getting that call and them saying, thanks for the 18 years that you gave us, but it's time for us to, turn the page on flight time.
And that's pretty much how it went down. No athlete wants to get that phone call. A lot of us hope and wish that, you know, that we'll be able to walk away on our own. But in reality, we know that if a lot of times if they don't call us and tell us it's time to go, we'll try to do it until we can't do it anymore. But for me, it was just a great experience because when you look back on it, when you reflect back, being able to travel to so many different places, meeting, popes and presidents and playing in NBA arenas, places that you dreamed of playing, places that you can, look at on television and say, oh, we played there last night. We were just in the Cleveland Cavaliers arena. Oh, we were just in Staples Center on Saturday. And Magic Johnson came to the game, or Kobe Bryant was at the game. Oh, we were just in San Antonio the other night, and Tim Duncan and his family. Oh, we were just on that court. I mean, to have these experiences, yeah, they get to come to an end, and we get to use these experiences and the places that we've been to give back. So for me, it took a lot of soul searching after those couple of years, but also realizing the experiences that I had, the lessons that I learned, the branding. I mean, the Globetrotters, they're a brand. I began to brand. Kindness is free. I started my brand Swag Ball in 2020. That's what they did. So my brand, was a part of what I am. I began to write books, and all this stuff leads into what I'm trying to do based on the experience and things I've learned with the Globetrotters. I wasn't just there having an experience. I was taking in knowledge and figuring out now, what can I do if this thing is over with? What do I get to do? And they prepared me. They prepared me by sending me to different schools, sending me in front of different 500, Fortune 500 companies to speak. And so the difference now and then is that they gave me the message to speak, and now I've created my story, my message. I'm authentic. I'm being realistic and letting people really know what's happening in this life, the steps that I've taken to get to where I am, the motivation that I use to keep to going where I am, and a lot of it has to do with, the experiences, the people that I know they're looking up to me, and the people that that I get to give new experiences to, new opportunities to, and that's what it's all about for me, Dan.
Yeah, and it's incredible, and when I guess when you look back on it, you got that call after 18 years. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of other players who probably got that call after 6 or 7 or 8 years. So, I mean, an 18-year career in any professional sport is phenomenal. So, I mean, hats off to you, to be able to play at that level for that long. I mean, you look at guys like Tom Brady, and you're like, that's insane that he's still competing at that level. But man, you did the same thing. I mean, 18 years of, just running back and forth on a court, and the training and what it takes to stay in shape. I mean, kudos to you, Herbert, because that is amazing in and of itself. An 18-year career in professional sports is something to be very proud of. And then, as if that wasn't enough, you go on and do this, crazy, amazing race thing. So what was the motivation behind, wanting to do that?
One of the coolest things about the Amazing Race, what you see, Dan, you had the memories. You shared with us the memories that you had with Meadowlark Lemon, the Curly Nils growing up, and a lot of kids over a period of time, the Globetrotters kind of went quiet. So you didn't remember stars. You never really heard of Sweet Lou Dunbar, Curly Neal, Showtime Gaffney, Showbiz. But these are guys who played for extended, extended careers as well, 15, 18, 20 years. And a lot of these guys, they didn't get the publicity or the recognition that they deserve, but they put in some of the same work, that the Curly Neal and the Meadowlark Lemon and the Geese Osbies, put in. So what happened was in 2007, when the new ownership came in, they wanted to create new stars. They wanted to create Meadowlark Lemons and Curly Neals. They wanted us to be recognized not only the one time a year when we would come to Reading, Pennsylvania, or the Staples Center in LA. They wanted to be able to recognize us. They wanted people to say, "Hey, there's Fight Time walking through the airport in his street clothes. There's Big Easy walking through the airport in his. Oh, there's Special K. Oh, they play for the Globetrotters." So what they realized is that social media was starting to take off, as well as reality television. So Howard PR firm out in LA and a young lady named Kimberly Irion, she was the main person that was the big influence on getting myself and Big Easy on The Amazing Race. And back in 2008 and 9, you started to see us on Amazing Race, Bachelorettes, Hell's Kitchen. We were just appearing on all kinds of things because we wanted to be more relative with the popular culture. But Big Easy and I, the way that it came for us is that they actually had two pairs of us auditioning for The Amazing Race. And Big Easy and I, we happen to really be friends. We played for the same college basketball coaches in college, but at different universities. And when Big Easy came in, my college coach, who had just coached him, let me know that he had a guy that was coming to try with the Globetrotters. And, if he made the team, to take him under his wing. And once he became a part of the team, we started to hang out. And our interview, which is on YouTube, our audition tape to become on The Amazing Race is on YouTube right now. And that's the video that we sent in that got us on the first Amazing Race. And as a result of that first season that we did, we had a lot of fun and we didn't get eliminated first. It led to them calling us back not only for a second time, but also for a third time as well. And it was a lot of fun. And one of the things that I wanted to stress on The Amazing Race several times when we were, off camera doing the interviews is that the world was seeing Big Easy and Flight Time on CBS, once a week for 11, 12 weeks. But in reality, there's 24, 30 other guys on that basketball team were just as talented, just as gifted as we are and able to spread as much joy as we were. And that's kind of how I looked at things then. That's how I look at things right now as I try to, continue to be an example, but also try to figure out a way to create opportunities for these other guys to get their talents on display. Because like you said, hey, you may not be able to run up and down that court and the game may pass us by, but the ability to teach, the ability to spread what you've learned, the knowledge that you've learned from the experiences that you've had in different parts of the world. And man, we've been some places that people can't imagine. It's important that we use this gift to give back. And I just want to be able to give people a voice, young men and women that are not as young anymore, a voice to be able to share with the world again and let people know that the world is not that bad of a place. And that's something that I also shared on my TED Talk.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's ingenious marketing by the new ownership of the Globetrotters to, understand that the brand was suffering a little bit and to get it back, into the mainstream. I mean, that's completely genius on their part to do that.
Create some stars.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool, so cool. So kudos to them as well for kind of thinking outside the box and being able to do that. So you just talked about it a little bit, but really the nuts and bolts of why I wanted to have you on this show was really what we're going to talk about next. Is your career ends, you accomplished a ton. I mean, you could have just rode off into the sunset and decided to go fishing every morning or whatever it was that you wanted to do that was relaxing, but instead you determined that your work wasn't done and that this what I'll call a kindness is free campaign you've decided to just kick off and throw out into the world. And let's face it, yeah, you know what, we live in a crazy world if that's what you're surrounding yourself with, if you're watching mainstream media all the time and watching all the doom and gloom. But one thing that my wife Sandy and I have been able to find through our travels of just this country is that if you're looking for good people, you will find good people. And there are so many incredible, wonderful, amazing people, in this country alone, yet alone the world, um, that are out there doing the right thing, trying to make a positive difference in their own little ways. So, why did you feel it was important to, you know, stay relevant, so to speak, and spread this message of kindness? Other than the obvious is that our world just desperately needs it. but what was it that clicked with you that said, this is something I'm gonna take on, and I'm gonna actually brand this, and I'm gonna push it and get it out there to the world?
Well, when my career ended, I went into a meeting, and it was with some of the people within the organization, and I just remember a couple of things that they said. And as I reflect back, I'm thinking, were they trying to be funny, or were they really thinking this? But they said, you did nothing wrong. You should be CEO of a company. Everybody loves you. And I took that into consideration. And on top of that, when a lot of my teammates, as well as people within the organization, found out that I'd gotten the call, the number of text messages, 40, 50 text messages, emails of people concerned and trying to figure out why, it let me know that I had left an impact and that my work wasn't done. And even taking that to another level, immediately reaching out to a couple of other guys who had gotten the call as well. The advice that they gave me that, hey, look at it as a blessing. It's a blessing that now you get to go out and be your authentic self. And uh, one of my biggest motivations was when I'm around young people, and I've traveled around the world, and I watch people train their kids and work out, and a lot of people are teaching, but they're not doing it by example. They're talking about what they used to do. Back in the day, I did this, or I could do this, I could do that. As a father, at that time, of a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, which they're now 16 and 14, 16 and 15, I wanted to make sure that my kids didn't have to listen to people saying, "Oh, your dad back in the day, oh, he used to do this, he used to do that." Well, yeah, there's video and stuff where you could see me playing basketball really well and winning the dunk contest. But that was just one of my dreams I had as a kid, to be a professional basketball player. I wanted to be in movies, so now I'm acting. I wanted to do movies, so I'm working on documentaries, and it doesn't stop. It just starts with you creating the foundation right now. And as we talked earlier, I want athletes to realize, especially these professional, even the high school and college, be friendly now. Start making connections now with people. Be someone that people want to be in right now. Don't wait until it's too late. So my main thing is I am a shower and a doer. I don't just want to talk about what I'm doing, and that's writing a book. I wrote a book. I co-authored a book. I uh, had a role in the movie Sweetwater, which is coming out in February of next year, February to March, was the story of the first African American to sign an NBA contract. I'm speaking in schools. I've partnered up with a company called Signed, in which I go to different schools and universities and different organizations, and I hand out an award called the Kindness is Free Award, which comes with a video message that recognizes people for not only not athletic ability, not how much money you make, not the grades that you make, but just for being a good human being. And that recognition, giving people that at these different schools and places, has already led to, oh, you got to come back next year to our school, because our kids are trying to figure out, oh, I want to try to win the award next year. They're motivated to be kind. So it's leaving people with something to remember you by, and also leaving them with hope. So, I mean, to be honest with you, my main motivation was, to inspire my kids, which led to me inspiring others. And now to inspire my kids and try to create the best life for myself and my wife, as well as life for others who are, not only close to me, but people who are looking for hope.
I love that, and it's like throwing that pebble into the pond and just seeing that ripple effect, um, go out. So I love that. I love what you're doing, and again, it's something that I think is definitely needed today. Um, and I think if more people, um, understand that you can have conversations with people who don't necessarily look like you, don't necessarily have the same political beliefs as you, but if you sit down and talk with them for 10, 15 minutes, you're going to understand that most of their desires will mirror most of your desires in life, and I just think we have to have those conversations. We have to sit down and get out of these echo chambers that we constantly want to put ourselves in, and you know meet people and get to know people that, again, don't necessarily you know look or sound or feel like we do initially. You're going to find out that there's just incredible people out there we have so much more in common than what we don't. And I think that was something you said in your TEDx talk as well.
And just even going further along that, one of the things that I've talked to even older people about, a lot of the ideas that we have, they were put in our head when we were young. And there's from our parents, grandparents, other family members. And in the big picture, if you look at it, everybody in your family is not a great person. There are some bad people in your family, but there's also some great people, within your family and that circle. And realizing that there's not perfect people around you, you have to realize, let me take a little bit of good from this person. Let me take a little bit of good from that person and create a superhuman. At some point in your life, you got to realize that you are not your father. You do not get to let your mother, what she did to you at a young age, be an excuse as to why you are the way that you are right now. You get to clear your head and figure out what you think, what's right, what's wrong, what's my belief, what am I believing compared to what was given to me. And when you think about that and you go back to that young state of mind, that innocent state of mind, that blank slate, you'll develop, skills and ability to have conversations with people who don't look like you, because you're open to receive and not necessarily so quick to give all the things that were given to you.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's funny where you say, you just got to admit that sometimes, your family isn't made up of all great people.
Right.
Forget who the comedian was. There's a comedian a couple years ago that was one of his bits where he was talking about, nobody wants to talk about the crazy people in their own family. It's like we have this assumption that there's just one family in the middle of Ohio that's cranking out all the crazies in the world. Because that's just not the case. Like, we're all contributing to it to a little bit. But like you said, that doesn't have to be um, our crutch. That's something that we can overcome, and we can change the dynamic and throw more positive out there in the world. So I love that. So, Herbert, before we get to my final question, is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to tell my listeners?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I just love to let everybody know that, I'm out speaking at different schools, universities, organizations. I'm pretty active on social media. Probably the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn, Herbert S. Lang. I am the motivational speaker. If you type that in on LinkedIn, I'm very active on Instagram. I post videos every single day. You'll probably catch me working out, catch me fishing, catch me speaking at a school or a university somewhere. But it's usually something every single day I'm trying to put out to inspire people and let them know that you can do it. Anything is possible. On Instagram and Twitter, I am at DA Trotter 4. That's D as in dog, A as in apple, Trotter like Globetrotter, DATROTTER 4. And yeah, you can find me there, YouTube. Just look me up, herblang.com, anywhere you can think of a social media, put my name in. And if you want to reach me, I'm sure there's a way that we can contact each other, and hopefully I can come into your community and spread some kindness.
Absolutely. I love it. So anybody that's looking for you to get in the community, just reach out to you through your social media outlets, and you'll make the connection there. I know that's how we connected, was through LinkedIn. You'd actually sent me a connection request, which I still don't even know why. We can talk about that afterwards. But I was like, wow, I want to talk more to this guy. So thanks for reaching out to me. Um,
Absolutely.
uh, as soon as I kind of read up on your profile and saw what you're doing, I was like, this is definitely a guy I need to have on my show. So, um, as you know, the subtitle of the podcast is "Many Little People in Many Little Places," which comes from the opening lyrics of a Michael Franti song called "Gloria," which go, "When many little people in many little places do many little things, and the whole world changes." And you've really kind of answered this question throughout the podcast, but just for you to kind of package it up into, one small nugget for my listeners, what are one of the things that Herbert's doing to make the world a little bit better place?
Oh man, one of the things that Herbert is doing to make the world a better place is that I am speaking, and I'm wearing it on my heart. I'm wearing it on my chest. I am branded myself. making and printing my own T-shirts, to young people. I'm doing basketball clinics around the United States, actually around the world, getting ready to do my second clinic right here in Ruskin, Florida. Kindness is Free Clinic 2. So yeah, that's what it's all about. I'm starting with the youth, but there is no limit. As my friend Elma Martin says, from 0 to 99, anybody gets to get this kindness, anybody gets to get this good energy and these good vibes. So that's what I'm doing. I'm living what I'm speaking, and I'm hoping and I'm knowing that I'm being a good example to a lot of people and those who are following me, and just continue to inspire. And so super grateful, Dan, for being able to have this time and us being able to share with your audience. And congratulations and thank you for what you're doing. Talking about traveling around in the RV, that was one of the things that I aspire to do at some point, and I'm going to get to do it.
Absolutely. When you start doing that, we'll definitely meet up in a campground somewhere for sure, and just hang out and spread some love around the campground for sure. So really appreciate the time, Herbert. Love this conversation. For folks out there listening, be sure to check out my blogs and other podcasts, as Herbert's there for you watching on YouTube, showing little tricks of his Globetrotter days. But check out my other blogs, podcast at danclouser.com. And be sure to head over to Amazon, pick up a copy of my latest book, Journey My Mother's Son, Volume 1. Herbert, thank you so much again for being on the show. I really appreciated this conversation.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, kindness is free. Spread the word.
Yes, it is. Spread the word.